and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, brother.
Cox.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Ooh, welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
Oh, I mean, what drama? What high drama?
Oh, high drama in the National
NBA.
Basketball Association.
Can you just play the music?
Yes, I can get that going there.
Do you sound a little quiet to you?
I sound pretty good, Ryan. Pretty good.
Just me.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our league.
Oh, they couldn't write this script. LeBron James down 0-3, back against the wall. He's got to come back and win it all, right? Not if Nikola Jokic has anything to say about it. Cash that Nuggets. I mean, we gave it out for the Edge Boost last night, Ryan. Edge Boost, Nuggets money line, and of course, cash in Nuggets for the series. Man, like I really like the Nuggets, but did not see it going in 4. Honestly, this was again, everyone's saying it on Twitter. This is what happens when the Writers Guild is on strike. They can't figure out how to get past 4 games, and also when you bring in refs not from Delaware County, aka home to the most crooked NBA refs. So this is what you get. You get 4-0 sweeps, possibly 4-0 sweeps in both conference titles. I mean, if we can't rely on crooked refs in this world, what can we rely on, Ryan?
The irony of how easy that joke was to write.
Yeah, exactly.
I do. Yeah, I mean, look, this is not great. We now are more than a week away from championship basketball. The finals don't start till June 1st.
June 1st, they're right around the corner. We're going to get a full recap of the Nuggets and the Lakers, and then of course breaking down pivotal Game 4, Miami Heat, Boston Celtics. We'll be joined by the guys from the NBA Gambling Podcast, Terrell and Scott. Before we do that, of course, shout out to Edge Boost. Imagine if you use that Edge Boost on that sweet Nuggets money line. Well, again, you would able to have an opportunity to double your bet with no interest and pay back the advance over 4 equal weekly installments. That's right, 0% interest. Are you kidding me? All you gotta do, deposit the funds. Edge Boost will match your deposit. You can use 2x the funds on any legal sports betting site. Bet now, pay later. The world's first bet now, pay later Visa card. What more do you want? My Edge double down play of the day. I'll save it because we're only giving out 1 game. I'll save it for the end here, but not a huge fan of this Boston Celtics team. I'll leave it at that. Of course, go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to sign up today. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge must be 21 or older to use. Only valid in legal gambling states. Problem gambling. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. This gentleman, he's a gambler. He's a rambler. You know him from the NBA pod, the WNBA pod. You hear him on the MLB pod, the NFL pod, the tennis gambling podcast. Mr. Scott Reichel. What's happening, Scott?
Said gambling parlays. Anybody got any parlays? No. How's it going?
You are doing the Chappelle Clayton Bigsby scratching of your face, looking for a little bit more action. And again, Scott, what's great about Scott is he's a very sharp, methodical bettor, but also a true DJ at heart. Loves some sweet parlays, and looking fresh here. Got a haircut, got a shave, looking ready for these NBA finals. Even though we're gonna have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, it's a big occasion. It's not often you see LeBron get swept before the NBA finals. So, I got a haircut for the occasion and I'm ready to roll.
I love it. Love it.
That could bring some nice symmetry to his career. Went out like a bitch early with a sweep in the finals, and then to go out getting your layup blocked like that.
Yeah, I mean, again,
can't be the last.
The
moment,
case
right?
for LeBron's legacy is obviously him playing at such a high level for so long.
Yeah, he's awesome.
The case against, at least when comparing him to Michael Jordan, is Michael Jordan won every finals he was in, and he wasn't getting swept by this Nuggets team. But again, he didn't play this far into his career.
He never had to play the Joker. I mean,
which is
I like how Sean's going, like slowly, methodically, but respectfully talking about how LeBron, went up against a great team. And Kramer's looking over like, yeah, LeBron's kind of like a bitch. Like, just the exact opposite type of, way to describe LeBron's,
good cop, bad cop.
Oh, we should bring Terrell on. But my take is I am a big time LeBron stan, and it sucks watching him go out like a bitch.
Yeah,
sucks watching him go out like a bitch.
Joining us now from the NBA Gambling Pod, WNBA Gambling Pod, plenty podcasts. You know him, you love him, the villain himself, Mr. Terrell Furman. What's happening, Terrell?
What's going on, fellas? It's not every day that we are here to have a funeral for the Lakers, while on the same day the books are all partying because they just got rid of probably their largest liability in a very long time.
What a sweat. Yeah, we had Derek Stevens, owner operator of the beautiful Circus Sports out there in Vegas, and I always want to know what Derek's sweating, because he is kind of a DJ at heart, and he's like, "Oh, the Lakers would be bad. The Lakers would be bad," because again, they started out 2-10 the season, and every Laker fan that's out from LA visiting Vegas, I'll throw a couple bucks at 25 to 1, 50 to 1. There were some really,
75-1.
Yeah, there were some crazy prices, especially if you found that bottoming out point. I mean, even their odds to make the playoffs were plus money for a decent portion of the season. So in some ways you could say like, hey, Lakers, you turned it around. You got to the Western Conference Finals.
They say at any given time, 25% of Vegas is people from Southern California.
Yeah, so you could see how it's pretty easy to stack up a ton of Lakers liability.
Sean, I was just
yes.
a fellow, a bookmaker, a guy we know who operates in the gray streets, just slid into the old. I was thinking if this was a good time to debut our other fun gimmick. I was gonna say he slid into the Instagram DMs.
Okay.
And I was gonna pretend like I was pulling out my Instagram live and get. No, we don't want to do that yet. But no, books got. This is a glorious day. Champagne popped in the books. Big time.
Yeah, they got to be pretty stoked. I imagine there's some Nuggets liability, but Terrell, what is it about this Nuggets team? I feel like they've just kind of for what their record was in the regular season, considering they had a guy, now that you see the playoff shakeout, obviously great case for him MVP. Why have people been doubting this Nuggets team seemingly all season?
It's just the history of the Nuggets organization and how far, like, they've had good teams before. They've been top seeds in the West before, and they've had opportunities, and one after another. Trust me, I was one of the biggest ones that I said the Nuggets are going to have to prove it to me that they can that they can have a playoff run and get to the NBA Finals. It was so much about Jokic being this great player as he is, and he definitely is, but there's still that monkey off your back of getting to the NBA Finals, of winning an NBA Finals. Giannis was able to get it off his back and be able to get it done. This could be Jokic's opportunity to do the same.
I just think that sometime. Well, no, because I was debating if I wanted to go down the Russell Wilson path. The city, they're
dangerous.
Well, you take on a double like that, and you've sold yourself or something. So I am perhaps, but again,
what did the Nuggets making the NBA Finals cost you?
Well, it's a city thing. It's just
everything.
the Broncos. Well, that's actually a good take. But the more I said this last time we talked, the more Nuggets games we have, the more we get to see Fat Sean Payton sitting courtside.
Oh yeah.
There's no position he can't in the coach's picture. He looked like some sort of rhinoceros sitting down. He just can't look normal. He was leaning over in one of the still shots where they captured him, where it just looked like his nipple was like attached to his kneecap. He does not.
That year off was real.
Oh, he was doing.
He looks really big.
The catering on the Fox set. You get the craft services. They got bagels everywhere. You put on 15 pounds right away.
He didn't have to do any walking up and down the field every Sunday.
You understand?
There are also some videos going around in his own house or with his kids. Let's just say he's taking advantage of his environment. Can we say that?
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, look, this is a guy who, knowing that he was about to get a contract worth north of $10 million a year, was still on the fence 50-50 about staying in the media with Fox.
Well,
Craft Services is a
Imagine paying
is pretty
two first-round picks for a fat white guy.
well, he also can call a good play once in a while.
He's the first coach I've ever seen take a bong rip, so I'm going to give him a pass. That's all I'm saying.
Wait,
How did this become a Sean Payton roast session?
Wait,
Oh my
It wasn't
God.
a roast session. I'm just saying. I said he took advantage of his surroundings. You know what Colorado has, and he's been taking advantage of it.
So now that I'm caught up with what Scott was talking about, Scott's usually a little bit more direct. So there's video of Sean Payton ripping a bong.
I believe I saw that a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh God.
yeah. We'll get the team on that one.
Change my opinion. Scratch.
Josh, where you at?
Well, also too with Sean Payton, you were talking about him looking a little fat. It's tough to tell if his cheeks are chubby or if he's just got a massive wad of dip in, because he's notorious for having like big chaws.
Just picture him out taming some wild Broncos.
Going nuts there. Getting it back to Lakers Nuggets. Scott, you were just, I mean, talk about LeBron's funeral here. You were digging the grave personally for D'Angelo Russell. Every game just piling on the dirt. I'm assuming, I didn't actually see, did you give out points, rebounds, and assists, or just points today? And I'm assuming it hit, right?
I was taking PRA for every game, basically, because I figured when you're going to factor in X amount of rebounds and assists for games, but you think the guy shouldn't be on the floor whatsoever, just give me the higher number and I'll take the under, because he's not going to get enough workload. He went well under. It was 17.5 in game 3. It was 17.5 again in game 4. I believe he had 8 tonight. He only played 15 minutes, was never in doubt. He finally got benched. It took them about 3 games too long to bench him, but they finally got him off the court.
Yeah.
But the point is, odds makers didn't adjust between games 3 and 4. And I guess the argument was he was doing a decent job at assisting and rebounding. But once again, he can't guard anybody. So if you want to tell me that this guy, any player, regardless of what I think of D'Angelo Russell's past and how I've never really been a big fan of his, if he's a complete liability on the court, and everyone can tell that this guy should not be on the court as much as he has been, and you're expecting a smaller workload, then I'm going to keep taking the unders and I'm going to wait for you to make an adjustment. And the books did not make a single adjustment in PRA from games 3 to 4, and they got buried because most people thought to themselves, Russell played 20 minutes in game 3. If you watch game 3, it felt like he played 40 minutes because he was brutal the entire game. I think he went 1 for 8 from the floor. He played 15 minutes. I thought he'd play less. He did. And once again, he was ineffective. But it was also, good for me, a bit of a victory lap, because I've been critical of D'Angelo Russell for years. I got into a bit of beef with Timberwolves Twitter earlier this year. I said that D'Angelo Russell is really not a great player. He's a high volume, low efficient, scorer, and he doesn't guard anybody. And Timberwolves fans came at me saying, look at his numbers for this. What are you talking about? You're being a hater. And then he got traded for post-prime Mike Conley a week later. So I think I won that one. But the point is, I've never been a big fan of Russell. I don't consider him a winning basketball player. I think he's a good 6th man. He can give you some, microwave scoring. But if you give him any serious minutes, he will get torched defensively. And as a result, they couldn't use him. So the odds makers didn't adjust, and we cleaned up.
Speaking about digging a grave, I know you've been a vocal doubter of this Boston Celtics team the entire season, Terrell. I feel like it even dates back to last year. Just the idea that
it does. This has been going on about 4 years now.
It's been a long time, and I see every once in a while the Celtics fans will pop their head up and chirp at you and like, oh, you're just a hater, blah blah blah, and you come at them very rationally of just no, I just think they're going to be a constant disappointment. And, during the Sixers series, I kept saying, like, I actually think Doc is out coaching them. Eventually the Sixers somehow the Sixers team was softer than the Celtics team, but they certainly had their opportunities to win that series. And I said it online, like, I think the Celtics were worse off by winning that series against the Sixers. Like, almost if they would have lost that series to the Sixers, that would have been easier to write off than what is happening right now, down 0-3 to this Heat team. What's your take on Heat Celtics so far?
Oh, man, I'm really not the guy to try to kick somebody when they're down. And
yeah, I heard you taking it easy on them because it's
the
so
point
bad.
that I was I could really, really sit in here and drive in the point that I was 100% right.
Do
And
it for the Celtics fans that were trash talking you the whole year, not for
Yeah.
the team. Let's try to get you motivated a bit. Do it for the people that criticized you the whole year.
no,
We need
I
to
mean,
we need to play the
there's a
Rocky
lot.
music. Let's go, unleash.
There's a lot of people that did criticize my hate and thought that it was purely based on hate. But I mean, the numbers back it up as they were the worst team straight up as a favorite over the course of the year. And if you bet them on the money line every game straight up as a favorite, you would be down about $800, $900 if you're $100 better. So, that's also going in the favor, not to mention that they have not covered and will not cover one single series spread throughout the entire
Crazy.
playoffs. Like,
Yeah,
they
I mean,
got
we
three
were
spreads, all of them plus 2.5. Didn't cover any of them.
well, I think you tweeted out Heat plus 2.5. Cash that. It's crazy to catch that after the first two games. I know we were on the Heat for the
What's
series.
even crazier
Yeah.
is cashing Heat plus 1.5 and with plus money in the first 3 games. That's even crazier.
And I'm on Heat plus 2.5, Heat for the series, and then also unfortunately over 5.5.
yeah,
Like I thought we would get some little fight,
But,
not a
Sean,
tremendous fight, but I mean it'll still be great because the Heat series I think was plus 400,
I'm so pissed
415.
at Boston because Boston has inadvertently had me hedging this game. Because now I have a Heat plus 400 money line and I have an over ticket. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, I really don't need to bet on this anymore. I have my bets
No,
already placed
yeah.
out
No,
for
and,
me.
and I think we all, some of us agreed that Heat win game 1, win series was also a great bet. And I think some of us also agreed that Jimmy Butler Finals MVP,
Yeah.
18-1 was something we should invest in. I did that live on the air,
Well,
Sean.
and-
Great idea by me.
And
CLV over here. I'm
CLV
rock hard.
superstar.
Just
Make sure-
rock hard with some CLV.
Make sure you get the Air Jordan HEIR Jordan shirts in the merch store. Ours are on the way. They're pretty sweet. Can't wait to rock those. Scott, talking about the Heat. I mean, is this surprising? The what we're seeing out of this Heat team? What's your handle on the Heat Celtics series so far?
So when you say surprising, do you mean once we saw their full form against the Bucks? Do you mean like a couple months ago when it looked like they were going to potentially not?
They
even
were
make the
down in the
playoffs?
play-in game. Like was it just as simple as like once they were officially in the playoffs, they flipped a switch? I mean, I'm lucky we got on the Heat, last series and some on the on Milwaukee, but like as a guy who's a Butler fan and likes Spoelstra as a coach, they certainly limped their way in, and especially ATS, like they were. I mean, one of the worst teams against the spread. They were the worst in the regular season. What do you think is switched for this Heat team?
Well, first of all, just full disclosure, I'll admit when I win and when I lose. I don't think I've been more wrong about a team in my entire life. The Miami Heat this year. I thought they should have blown it up arguably halfway through the year. It was rough. They couldn't cover games. They couldn't. It seemed like they were going to miss the playoffs potentially. Then they lose to Atlanta in the first play-in game.
Yeah.
They're down 3 with like 3 minutes to go in the other play-in game, and you think they might blow the whole team up. And now they're 1 game away from the NBA Finals. It really just seems like they flipped the switch, as basic as that sounds. And you can make an argument that some of the role players who you might have been lower on all just started shooting the ball insanely well. You had Martin, who started hitting a bunch of shots. You've seen Vincent emerge as a serious threat off the bench. It's not even really a Lowry and a Kevin Love thing, who are the veteran guys who are supposed to make contributions. It's mostly just been the unsung, undrafted heroes for this team that have just been able to give constant effort. But you're looking at the overall roster, and none of it really makes any sense besides Jimmy Butler just potentially being Michael Jordan's son. But you're looking at
potentially. Well,
what
we'll
the
have
Heat
to
have been
edit
doing.
that.
I can't really explain it. It's mostly just Spoelstra being a phenomenal coach, but just for reference, they're giving Cody Zeller minutes, and they're 1 game away from the NBA Finals.
And he's looking
I don't
good
know if
out
I can
there.
explain this. This is something
Well,
that
I
is.
have an explanation actually. If
Okay.
we cue the X-Files music.
Okay.
Here. Because again, to give a little, you gotta give a little. To get a little, you gotta give a little. And the Denver Broncos and the Miami Dolphins might have historically bad seasons this year because of what it took to get these teams.
Oh, I
together.
like this.
The sports gods can only give out so much. and
There
then
is
they
some
take
of
it.
that. I have been predicting the Boston cliff and it seems like it's coming fast. 12 championships in a couple decades, and now just right off the edge.
And Lonty in the chat from the NBA pod as well, saying Haslam's leadership is the key. Udonis, yeah, he's certainly given something to that Miami bench. I mean, to me, it starts with the Celtics coaching. Very much, everyone's seeing the same thing of like, this guy is, Missoula has lost the team.
Well, isn't that what stands out?
We were all over that last series. Somehow they still won that series against the Sixers. But I'm in a weird way, I'm almost happy because this Sixers team would have got just fucking destroyed by this Heat team.
What will I mean, yeah, I guess it seems like maybe coaching matters still. Maybe trying matters.
Trying and coaching really matter in the NBA.
I wanted to mention, since I kind of half answered your question without really saying anything, if I had to give the reason why I think Miami's been so successful, it's going to sound extremely cliche, and I'm going to use the buzzword Heat culture. But you mentioned trying. I think it's toughness and grit. Yeah. As unquantifiable as that sounds, it's really the best explanation I have. It just feels like every series that Miami's in, they are the significantly tougher team, both mentally and physically. And they're not afraid of just constantly trying to land haymakers and exchange punches for 48 minutes. And from what I've seen in the playoffs, a lot of these teams have tapped out. We've seen Milwaukee. They were a Durant half shoe size away from not winning a title. And you think about Milwaukee's past with Budenholzer and how they used to choke in the playoffs all the time. They've been a relatively soft team in the playoffs in the past. And then some injury luck paid. I'm not going to criticize Milwaukee's ring, but still, they were a bit fortunate in hindsight to win the ring. So they got through that. The Knicks had toughness. They didn't really have a lot of offensive game planning. But even that series, the Knicks arguably gave the Heat their most competitive series because the Knicks also kind of matched their level of toughness. And Butler got hurt, which was a free win for New York. But this series has really just been about toughness and coaching. And yes, I know Missoula is not a great coach. He also was put in pretty much an impossible position because he wasn't supposed to be the coach until you had a scandal right before the season started and you had to scramble. For Missoula, though, yes, the coaching is bad, and apparently watching The Town 4 times a week doesn't count as a film session. But I do think that Tatum and Brown and the rest of the main core of this team are incredibly soft. Yeah. And even Horford, who's a veteran leader, who's doing the timeout signal, and then Butler does it to him in game 3, and Horford's about to cry on the court. You have Marcus Smart cursing at Butler, saying, "We beat you last year, shut up." And it's like, what does that have to do with anything?
That's not even trash talking.
No, that's not even, because you didn't even win the title. You can't even pull a Klay Thompson 4 ring fingers if you didn't win the damn title. So it just seems like Boston's incredibly soft. Milwaukee was incredibly soft. The Knicks were tough. They just didn't have much talent in hindsight because Randall checked out of the series. But I think the way I describe the Heat's run, they are just significantly tougher mentally than every other team that they faced. And a big reason is Heat culture and Jimmy Butler, because Butler has led by example. He said in the post-game press conference of Game 7 last year, we're going to be back. We're going to do this. It looked dark at times, but he led by example. And, Butler wasn't going to let any of his players give half-assed efforts. And I can't say the same for other teams in the Eastern Conference.
And to your point, they punked the Knicks. Remember, the Knicks were saying out loud, this team wants it more. So I do think it's all about that. And the one thing I would say about Boston, just to pile on the softness of this team, they went to Miami and they got dressed up in like a Miami costume party. Tatum with his
wore all white to a funeral. That's a bold move.
Horford wore this, just the kind of shirt that, I mean, again, like, you need to bring backup clothes if that's what your plan was, because you sitting in a fucking tropical button down, answering questions about your tough, horrible look.
He looked like he was about to have a Mai Tai, and he's talking
horrible
about
look.
He was hilarious. He goes, and what, teams that are down 0-3 are 0 and 149. So yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Well, 150 now. If you adjust the numbers,
you're right. That's hilarious. And so Mark Drumheller on Twitter, friend of the program, he said to Tatum's all white outfit, dude gets baptized by Butler in his backyard and comes to Miami dressed for his Holy Communion.
So good.
It really did seem. My niece just had her first communion, and it really kind of reminded me.
But can you really quantify it though? Because Miami went from being basically a mediocre basketball team to suddenly becoming a world beater, and the only thing I could really describe it as is just good coaching and toughness. As cliche as that sounds, I can't really explain it. This is one of the most impressive NBA runs I've ever seen. It's an 8 seed that was on the verge of being eliminated before the bracket even started, and they're 1 game away from going to the championship. This is unprecedented. Like, I can't think of another run like this. You could argue the Knicks making the finals in like 99, but that was a lockout year. It was a shortened season. There was a lot of weird stuff going on with contracts that year. Is this like the most impressive run in recent NBA history? Because if they win the title, this might be the greatest run in arguably the history of sports
Blood
to
in the
actually
water.
win a championship.
I mean, Air Jordan, right? He realized like holy, like once the season and the in between season, aka the play-in game ended, he just smelled they smelled blood in the water, and he went to his teammates. He said, we literally, if I can punk their best player, and that's all you got to do. And in some extent, you could argue that Randall like got the treatment of Giannis and then Tatum, and it worked because all 3 guys like they chose not to fight. Well, it's like when you watch those nature videos and the Rams are about to do battle, and one Ram just goes off and realizes like I'm not fucking with that dude. That's what happened in these series. Yes. Jason Tatum is not a top 5 player. He's not a top 10 player. I wouldn't start a franchise with Jason Tatum.
Very small dog energy.
Get him out of my locker room.
He hasn't hit a fourth quarter shot since he hit that it was I think a 3, and he put up 50 against the Sixers. He hasn't hit a fourth quarter.
LeBron did this in the fourth quarter too. Stop passing the ball, bitch.
Yeah.
Take the shot. Even I'll take the shot. If I'm feeling it, I'll take the shot.
Chat Stephen B. Ranger pointing out Houston Rockets in '93. He's a Houston guy. I mean, Jordan was playing baseball, so that
he was playing baseball. He wasn't playing baseball.
I'm trying to remember. Was the '93 run? I'm trying to remember which year was the year that Drexler was the year after, right? Because that arguably was the more impressive run because they were down. Was it 2-0 to Phoenix, and they came back from 2-0 down? I think.
Yeah, I don't. I'll have to look that up.
They were a 5 seed though. The Heat were an 8 seed.
Yeah,
like this has never happened before.
And especially to your point, if they win the championship, it's more impressive in some ways than even like the Eagles with Nick Foles or crazy runs in March Madness because
how
those
the Eagles even get
Eagles were a 1 seed though. They were a 1 seed with home.
Get mentioned in this show
because
you can make an argument based on the odds mid-season.
Like there was no reason to even bring that up.
he just wanted to, even though the Eagles had home field because they had the 1 seed in the
right.
Like,
because
are you listening to the conversation? Trying to be like, I can fit the Eagles in right here.
If you want a comparison, it's going to be flawed because it's soccer for a comparison. Mid-season is basically the Leicester City run.
Review right now.
This is the Leicester City run, basically.
Wow.
Like, I can't describe what's happening.
Well, because
Leicester City was 8,000-1 to start the season.
But
and the Heat mid-season were like 200-1 or like 150-1 when they were down to the Bulls. If you wanted to take it in play, I mean, wasn't there like a 300-1 ticket on the Heat if you took it midway through that Bulls game?
There's probably some. Yeah, I mean, a lot of places. I don't know how much they offer futures mid-game, but still, my point was it's more impressive in some ways because it's like a best of 7 series. It's not just like single elimination games and you're getting, hot and whatever. You have to be the better team because it's a 7-game series.
The irony, because we did discuss this being more wide open than most NBA seasons. Some people even compared it to March Madness. So very fitting for an 8 seed to be a play-in team. Remember we said the play-in was stupid because no play-in team had ever made.
Yeah.
So that's
NBA
my
finals.
only thing with all of this, and this is just like the only thing that I would just wish that could kind of go back. Because what if the play-in didn't exist?
Yeah.
And the Boston Celtics had to play the Miami Heat, who would have been a 7 seed. And got swept in the first round.
Oh man, that would be so much more painful for Celtics. Although
the Bruins and the Celtics,
so much worse. This is good. This is good because at least like they built up and they said, "Oh, we lost the series spread, but we still won. Okay, we still won the series. Oh, we lost the series spread again, but we still won the series. Oh, okay." And then you get to the mountaintop, and it's like
this was bad though because we've now seen like just a full multiple round playoff sample size of Jason Tatum being a bitch. Even in some of his best moments, it was remember he was a hero because he took a shot when he was 1 for 14. It's like Jesus Christ, no shit. No shit.
Lube,
All right.
Lube Gaming in the YouTube chat says we have a play-in. It's called the regular season.
Wow. Okay.
So stupid.
You must be a college football fan.
Stephen B, of course, checking in saying Terrell really hates Boston, and I love it. All right, let's get to some picks. Not only for Game 4 Eastern Conference Finals, but also maybe some early thoughts for the NBA Finals. Before we get to that, shout out to Shady Rays, rocking my Shady Rays in studio. Love my Shady Rays. Shady Rays are the sunglass that pays. That's right. You can win $500 cash courtesy of us and Shady Rays. All you got to do is buy a couple pairs of Shady Rays over at shadyrays.com. Use the promo code SGPN. You're getting 50% off already, and you get a chance to win $500. That is an EV opportunity if I ever heard one. Love my Shady Rays, and again, don't worry about losing them, breaking them, run them over in my truck, leaving them at the gym, losing them at Stadium Swim. Doesn't matter. They will replace your shades. No question asked. All you got to do is go to shadyrays.com, use code SGPN, get 50% off 2+ pairs of these sweet polarized shades I'm rocking in studio. Then head over to sportsgamingpodcast.com/shady for your chance to win the $500 Shady May contest. Before we get to the Game 4 picks, get a thought on the game, maybe some props that are jumping out to the guys. Terrell, what do you think? Assuming, and it does feel like a pretty good assumption right now. I did consider betting Nuggets for the series at -3,000 yesterday, but my limits at the account was like, all right, I can only win $32. I still consider doing it, but
should have parlayed it with the Celtics.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me parlay the series, but wait, not with the Celtics. Parlay with the Heat.
Just saying. I think they were -900. Yeah, cut into that -3,000 and turned into like a 1,500 or something.
Yeah,
lock it up.
What do you think? Assuming we have Celtics. Heat, or sorry, not Celtics Heat. I'm all over the place.
Wow.
Assuming we have Heat Nuggets, Terrell, what do you think the series price will be at?
I think that the Nuggets are going to be a favorite. I've been trying to decide if they were going. If it is a sweep, I think that the Nuggets are about $1.50, so -150 favorite, somewhere around there. Pretty similar to where they were against the Lakers, but if the Celtics steal a game, then you might see some overreaction, and it might be into the -200 range for the Nuggets at that point. But that's about as far as I think it'll go in the NBA Finals.
So right now the future price, some places, -275 for the Nuggets, 250 for the Heat. Celtics 1,600, just covering themselves there. So, yeah, I mean that's a bit off of that. So I'll be interested to see what happens. I mean, you have to make Denver the favorite. They haven't lost a home game, but at some point you realize, and the books have done this now finally with Miami and Boston. But at some point you just have to realize that Michael Jordan's playing basketball again.
So the issue that the Nuggets are having in series, and the thing that they kind of got away with in this series with the Lakers, is the fact that the Heat have defenders that can guard guards, and Jamal Murray's not going to be able to put up 35 every single game against the Miami Heat. Like, I just don't think that's possible with Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Gabe Vincent, and Max Strus.
What did he average again? Like 32.3 points per game.
Yeah,
in the
he had
series,
like 30 something. He had an amazing series. Like, he's actually wore out the name Bubble Murray. I really don't think I can legitimately call him Bubble Murray anymore after that. Unless this is all, and honestly, truly,
he needs
I
a
have
50
been thinking
point
that
performance.
this all might be a simulation, and we're actually all in a giant bubble. I've actually considered that, because that's the only thing that can make sense of this playoff run right now. It's amazing. It's great.
I will say I did have to hit the reset button a lot when we were doing the Sims during the pandemic. So maybe we created a loop.
We're stuck in the simulation. All right, let's get to
which side are you taking? Like, let's say it does open. I mean, I'd be willing.
I'm taking the Heat.
What's the price you need to take the Heat? Nuggets haven't lost a home game in the playoffs.
Just give me
like 180, 200.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like plus 175.
I mean, if I'm getting plus money with the Heat, I'm gonna take them.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get plus money, so
So you said you saw the odds initially at around like 275 on hypothetical matchup markets.
No, I'm just looking at straight futures right now that are open.
Oh, okay.
And so I figure if they're dangling a minus 275 for Denver on the future, their straight series price isn't going to be far off of that.
No.
Yeah. Personally, I'm assuming if Denver does play Miami, and let's assume Miami sweeps. We'll talk about that game in a second. I think Denver would be around minus 300.
Really?
I think they would.
Oh,
There you
okay.
go.
Should they? No, they should not be. But you have to keep in mind what the Heat have been priced the entire way through. Think of all the series prices and think of the fact that
They were
Boston
on-
has been favored in basically every game of this series. Miami won game 3 by 20 and change, and they're only laying 1.5 in game 4. Clearly, the advanced numbers and whatever the algorithms sportsbooks are using, they hate Miami. It's been the case the entire playoff run. You're looking at the Knicks
72%.
price. You're looking at the Milwaukee price. Milwaukee price is reasonable because they were a playing team. I get all that. They were dogs against the Knicks, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they were what were they against the Celtics again? They were 4-1, 5-1.
Yeah. 430.
4-1.
I-
They were 4-1.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
a plus
4-1, give or
430
take,
ticket.
like-
Let's go.
No,
And
no,
they're
not
going
give
through
or
the
take.
games here.
4-1. A solid
Okay.
4-1.
But don't you-
Boston is minus 9 in game 1, minus 9 in game 2, and they're minus 4.5 on the road in game 3. Clearly, whatever the odds makers are using with their metrics or analytics, however they determine their lines, they hate Miami. So yes, I do expect Denver to be a massive favorite in the finals. Should they be that big of a favorite? No, because Miami's proven them wrong every step of the way. But if I had to guess what the price would be, I think 300 sounds reasonable because Denver also I can't even say rest matters anymore because you have about a week off. But I do think Denver will be around 300 if I had to guess.
I mean, ESPN's advanced analytics system still likes the Celtics to win 37%.
72%.
Well,
72% chance to win the series down 3-0.
The pre-update, but even once they fixed their whatever their glitch was, they still like the Celtics at 37%. So obviously you're right. The analytics just hate the Heat.
Once again, I wouldn't price it that way, but I'm not going to suddenly say to the Heat, well, they've been massive dogs or dogs in every series. They've dominated every opponent they faced. And now suddenly they're going to get respect against a 2-time MVP that just swept the Lakers. I think they'll be around like plus 250 on the price market if I had to guess. There's value on Miami, but I do expect Denver to be a pretty massive favorite in the finals.
Guess we'll be on Miami again, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to be over 200, it's going to be tough not to be on Miami. But let's get to Game 4. Backs against the wall for the Celtics. They are on the road. They're finally a dog here in the series. Plus 1.5. Total sitting at 216. Money line plus 100. Heat minus 120 on the money line. Scott, let you go here. What do you like in this game?
I'm taking Miami. Simply put.
Yeah.
I want to make a case that we're not going to get 2 sweeps, and we also might get 2 sweeps in hockey, which is especially bad. It's really just a bad time for series in sports right now.
Oh, real quick. Why can they not move up the finals date? I don't get it. Like the stadium isn't going to be used.
There's a
by
Taylor
anything.
Swift concert. Or something,
like
you know?
you can't move it up. I don't understand why you can't move the NBA finals
TV.
date. Yeah, but just tell them it's going to be on a different day. Like, what are they preempting? Like Desperate Housewives? I don't understand why we cannot just start the finals early.
You're going to have to get Adam Silver on the show to talk to you about that because I don't have the answer to that question. But I do know for the sake of game 4, I'm taking the Heat. Simply put, I witnessed the team completely roll over and die when they walked into an arena in game 3.
Yeah.
At no point were they close in that game. It's one thing if games 1 and 2, or even the Lakers in their first 3 games, at least they hung around. They had a chance to win some games. The games were competitive. They were in the balance at some point. Boston showed up to an arena in a must-win game and immediately went down double digits in roughly the first 7 minutes of the game, and basically at no point cut it to within single digits for the final, 40 minutes of the game? It was a death. That's what it was. At no point did they try. At no point did they show any heart whatsoever. And yes, I know Mazzulla might have lost the locker room, and you can make arguments about that stuff and if he's totally at fault. I'm not saying Mazzulla is completely innocent. I think he's a bad coach. But a lot of this is based on personnel as well in terms of the roster, because we've seen Boston, even in the Warriors finals last year, they rolled over when Curry had that massive game in Boston. Boston never recovered from that. They're a mentally fragile team, and it seems like they've completely quit on the season. So I'm going with Miami. I think Miami's not going to want to play around with it. I think they're going to want to end it, get the rest. And I think Boston, if they go down early, you will see a repeat of game 3. I do not believe Boston is mentally equipped to come back from double digits down. I think they need to start off well early. And even if they do, they can't close. So until Tatum makes a shot in the fourth quarter, I'll take Miami.
Yeah, Tatum needs a coach that's gonna ride him. I don't know if Missoula.
Well, a lot of NBA guys do, but they don't.
Besides Tatum, Jaylen Brown's been atrocious in this series, and I feel like not enough people are talking about it.
Well, you know who was talking about it, Sean? Oftentimes during the playoffs, I'll turn on alerts for certain people's tweets, and this man, Mr. Irvin Magic Johnson, he if you don't follow him, highly recommend at Magic Johnson. He just spits hot fire.
If you want a recap of events that you watched about an hour and a half ago, he's the perfect follow for
it. Just pure unadulterated.
It's like an encyclopedia if it could tweet.
Basic facts. Well, listen to what he said about the Boston Celtics. In my 44 years of being associated with the NBA, I never thought I'd see a Boston Celtics team, a franchise with 17 championships, quit. I know the Celtics fans all over the world must be disgusted and devastated. And here we go, Scott. This part's for you. The Miami Heat blew them out 128-102 in game 3, period. I mean, this is all time. Like this, Missoula's fired already. Why do you even let him coach game 4? Why do you let him coach game 4?
Will he finish the game 4 as the coach?
Leave him on the tarmac.
Music just starts walking down the tunnel.
Scott Foster him. Leave him on the tarmac.
I mean, this is the guy you gave an extension midway through the year because y'all were having a good year with the same bunch that you had last year.
How much did they give him?
What did they give him the extension, by the way? Like 30 games into the year? Like
yeah, it was about.
They weren't even halfway through. I think.
And he definitely has a multiple year. I don't know the number, but
I'm pulling
I know it's multiple years. And so, hey, I mean, that's your guy. I doubt that I actually don't think they're going to fire him over the course of the offseason. I think if he gets fired when they come and they have this same energy in the regular season next year, and that's when he gets fired. I don't think he gets fired in the offseason. But I don't need to say what side I'm on. Everybody knows what side I'm on. Why would I switch up
I'm also
now?
on the Heat.
What I will say is that the Heat being favored could possibly be bad mojo.
Yeah. I don't hate that.
I wanted them to keep the mojo going with the Heat continuously being dogs. They decided to switch it up. And so
it's only 1.5, but I know what you're saying. I'm locking it up. Give me the Heat minus 1.5. Kramer, I assume you're riding with Heat culture.
And you nailed it, right? The writers are on strike. They're completely clueless on what to do right now. So we're gonna.
I do want to ask though, since
everywhere.
we talked about Missoula just quickly. Once again, I think that he's not a great coach. But if you had to break down the percentage of blame here, a lot of people are solely blaming Missoula for the reason why this team has struggled. Can we just acknowledge that Tatum and Brown have no leadership qualities whatsoever? That's definitely a part of it. There needs to be more criticism on the players, as far as I'm concerned, because it took a Tatum superhuman fourth quarter when he was also pretty brutal in that Philly series for a decent portion of it before he woke up in that final game. Once again, I'm not making excuses for Missoula, but at some point, coaches coach and players play. And the star players for Boston have not shown up in this series, and I feel like they deserve more of the blame than
Let me tell you,
they're currently getting.
This is youth sports. This is AAU culture. I think
participation trophy.
Not participation. This is when there's a problem, it's always the coach. I'm going to go find another coach. The coach isn't doing the right thing for my kid. It's always the coach. So why Jason Tatum?
This was the coach's fault.
This punk little bitch, private school pussy, comes into the league, and guess what? Guess whose fault it is? The coach. This is 98% Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and the player and the rest of the players who are they're getting punked by undrafted guys in the NBA. Like that's really hard to do.
He always uses the coach of the scapegoat, but the point is, at some point, you got to look at Tatum and Brown and go, you've had several chances to step up on big stages. Tatum has had a big game 7 against Milwaukee, or big game 6 against Milwaukee last year, and a big game 7 against Philly. You take those 2 games out of it, he's really just been a pretty underwhelming playoff performer, especially in big moments. And Brown has really had turnover issues, and that's been an issue for his entire career. Once again, I just think those 2 guys aren't wired properly to lead a team to a championship.
My experience is pretty much solely girls and soccer, but a lot of times when you go after the other team's quote unquote alpha, and you just make sure they know you're there. Make sure you know you're going to provide a little friction for the next 90 minutes or whatever the game you're playing is. A lot of times they go away. A lot of times the best actually haven't had to deal with a lot of friction. They haven't had to deal with a lot of adversity. They haven't had to deal with the feeling of, I don't want all this pressure to take the shot.
Did you just give us your game plan for Saturday?
I was a mix between a game plan.
Hopefully the opposing
from like
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go on the field and go out there right now. Like, do you need a ninth person?
I'm going to save this for a future episode, but this past weekend I did get into a bit of a situation on a youth sports field. But I will say, in a previous couple seasons back, I did actually. This one coach got very upset with me because I essentially like had someone man coverage in soccer, their best player, and the girl backed down like a coward, and the coach didn't think it was very gentlemanly of me to play that kind of soccer, but we broke her. And that's what happened with Jason Tatum.
Ryan's bragging about breaking a girl in soccer.
And
I'm glad you guys had the same reaction.
I didn't break him. My players broke him, but the strategy was right.
Win.
Yeah. And funny enough, Scott,
she bleeds like we bleed.
This will be a good way to end this point because Sean, you wouldn't believe it. I got into it with the coach.
Ryan's usually pretty calm and mild mannered.
I'm very calm. And I got into it with this guy over the idea that the team should be trying to win the fucking game. Like,
I'm imagining you as like the movie tyrant coach at the final game going, if we lose this game, none of you make the team next year. And you're like threatening to take away the roster spot.
I'm definitely going to be, I'm talking a lot on the sideline, a lot of positivity, but I'm right eye contact. And I'm asking you to work. Your job.
For the record, I'm on your side. If I'm dedicating that much time to a sports in any capacity, I'm trying to win. I'm not wasting all my time to do nothing. So yes, I'm with you on this one, but it does sound funny when you talk about aggressively game planning to mentally break a person.
Bro, he ran a box of one in soccer.
Yeah.
Like he ran a box of one in soccer.
Oh, it's excellent.
It's really insane.
It's excellent.
I like it though. You gotta push the envelope trying to win.
Here's the dirty secret of youth sports. It is about having fun, but kids have fun when they win.
Yep.
Let's go.
Vince Lombardi over here. All right.
Jimmy Butler, only private school pussy that we fought with.
Ooh.
Oh, well, yeah, it's true.
That is true. He's the exception. And I'm seeing some early lines from offshore that the Nuggets, to Scott's point, are looking at -300, Heat plus 260
on the dot. It was 300.
Yeah, according to.
Let's go.
Why are we surprised?
I mean, come on. The Sharp himself.
It's so disrespectful for the Heat, but I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed.
I guess I'm just surprised. I thought there'd be some market recognition of what they've done in this playoffs, and the price would be a little different. I guess not. I guess people are going to keep doubting the Heat. But again, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. They still have to win this game 4. Terrell, any player props, any other side action here that jump out at you for Heat at Celtics? Or sorry, Celtics at Heat.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm taking Jimmy Butler over 2.5 steals and blocks.
Oh man, he's been awesome with that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really just the fact that Jimmy Butler is playing against the Boston Celtics, and the Boston Celtics have a player in Jaylen Brown who is incapable of dribbling the ball 10 times without turning the ball over. Not to mention everybody else on the team has turnover issues throughout this playoffs as well. So Jimmy Butler has active hands. He's always forced them into it, and he's actually in their head at this point. I think that if Jimmy Butler actually blinks at them 3 times, they may just give him the ball and let him go back down the other way. So
he's just living rent free
with the prop.
And just so we're clear, I think it's more fair to evaluate basketball players on the status of their high school, not their college. Jimmy Butler, of course, full ride to Marquette, but went to Tomball public high school in Texas. Also hit a junior college on his way. Meanwhile, Jason Tatum, what did he do? Fucking Chaminade.
Where's that?
It's a private school in St. Louis.
All right. Scott,
just wanted to give Jimmy Butler.
I mean, that shirt he
I like
wore.
how you just knew exactly where Chaminade was, either based on research or
he was searching this entire time.
Wikipedia.
He was over here.
Quick access to Wikipedia at all times.
I mean, that shirt, I don't need to know his college when I saw him rocking that shirt press game. Scott, what do we got? Player prop for Celtics at Heat.
I feel like for this one, I got to just stick with the guys on Boston who've been mentally broken this entire series. I got to link to Jaylen Brown unders at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's already focused on the contract, where he's going to play next year, vacation plans, but he's not focused on basketball right now because he's looked just completely lost. And the lack of intensity has definitely been on full display. I don't mind the under for his points, maybe threes. I'm not saying that he's going to have a LeBron or Kobe pass only game where he just mentally checks out and maybe trying to make a statement that he's just not going to shoot the ball. But I am not sold on anything Brown has done, and I'm not expecting him to suddenly figure it out in game 4 after the team got buried in game 3. I'm leaning to his unders. I think Horford might struggle too after Butler hit him with the timeout at center court. I would lean to Vincent overs for Miami. I thought Vincent found his footing with that big shot he hit in game 2, carried over in game 3. He led the entire game at scoring. 100-1 shot for him to be the leading scorer in game 3.
That's crazy.
I'd probably look for his overs as well. Tatum rebounds was actually the only over that I won in game 3. He had 10 rebounds in the first half and 0 in the second half. I'm not sure how he pulled that off, but he still went over. I will still go with the over for Tatum rebounds. Even if you don't like Tatum and you question his overall intensity late in games, he still has been good at rebounding, and Boston has tried to go smaller, and as a result, Tatum should have opportunities. I would still take Tatum over because unless they get completely blown out, it's the final game of the season. I'm assuming Tatum's going to play 45 plus minutes in this game. So I'll go with Tatum rebound over. I want nothing else to do with Tatum.
I think there's a small risk that Tatum is the kind of dog that needs to be backed all the way into the corner before it will show its teeth all the way. 5% chance that's the case. 5% chance. The other 95% is did these guys stay down in Miami for a night?
It's a good question.
Yeah,
but I mean,
Okay.
Brown might. Who knows?
They typically do, right? There's a team and okay.
Yeah,
well,
when you're in the playoffs on the road, you stay.
So here would
if
be
Horford
my.
has 3 more of those outfits, he might stay in Miami for another couple weeks.
I was gonna say,
He brought his vacation clothes.
Listen, what did Lawrence Taylor used to do back in the day? He'd send cocaine and hookers over to the.
I was gonna say
team
cocaine.
hotel.
Yeah, making sure we're on the same page. Okay.
Jimmy Butler, you see how prepared he is to talk shit. You see how coordinated, almost like a touchdown dance. He's so coordinated right now in his return serve on all shit talk. I guarantee that this team will not. Boston will be doing things to lead them to not be focused. In fact, Sean, we got to reach out to our Miami after hours guy. See if the Celtics have been getting into any shenanigans. Because if I'm the way they were dressed, like it's almost like they were like going out after the game. And they all didn't have time to go back to the hotel and change. And they're like, "Just
are you saying we should ask around
gear.
Local clubs like Live if they've already booked the table for the Boston Celtics?" Is that what you're saying?
Did they book the table for before or after the game? That's what I want to know.
Well, Live goes up on Sundays, so if they went, it was after the game. That's Live Sundays, King of Diamonds Monday. If you know, you know.
I see, Terrell.
Wow, here you go.
See, Terrell, you know,
Club insider Terrell Furman.
A, you know we don't know, and B, you know most of the people listening don't know. So I appreciate that flex. You're asking people for props, Sean.
Yes,
I assumed you were going to ask me eventually.
Just take Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is possibly going to give them 40 in a closeout game. If he's petty, like he is petty king.
Yeah.
He is the petty dog.
Yeah.
He absolutely is the most petty superstar ever. And you're telling me that he has a chance to sweep this team that beat him in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he's not going to give them 40 in the chance of doing it? He gave Milwaukee 50 to put them out in 5. So, yeah, I mean, plus 30 plus points is plus 115, 35 is plus 320, 40 is 8-1. I would love to go down with Jimmy Butler if Jimmy Butler has a bad game. I think he's going to go on.
I'm with you. So give me Jimmy Butler 30 plus points. I'm going to co-sign the Jaylen Brown under 23.5, and then Heat adjusted line -7.5. I think is like plus 230. So lock all those in for me, Kramer.
Wow, you can get 17.5 points to take Gabe Vincent versus Jason Tatum. Heads up.
Oh,
Wow, Sean,
that's a fun
Sean
way
is
to play.
actually a little bit of
You're
an
getting
NBA
wait, you're
sharp
getting
there.
17 and a half. That's a hell of a deal.
17.5 points. I feel like I'm gonna make that all right. So Gabe Vincent versus. I know he just had a great game and all that. You can do Butler is plus 1.5 points versus Jason Tatum, but you Jaylen Brown. So I'm gonna take Gabe Vincent plus 11.5 versus Jaylen Brown. Gabe Vincent plus 17.5 versus Jason Tatum, and Kevin Love first bucket 10-1.
Is Love healthy?
He's starting,
he didn't return
right?
after the first 5 minutes.
God
of
damn
game.
Yeah,
it.
he might not start.
Go
Go
Derek,
with Strus.
Okay, Strus. No, that's not it. All
I
right,
was gonna say, I'm not sure Love's going to suit up.
All right,
but we'll see.
Max Strus 10-1.
Let's go.
That's it. Jimmy Butler sweep. And shout out to the. I mean, really stupid to have a week of no basketball.
Yeah.
in between.
Well, Ryan,
this is like the XFL championship.
We do
game.
have basketball, aka the WNBA Gambling Podcast. Check that out. You can hear these guys on over there, and of course the NBA Gambling Podcast wherever you get your pods. Make sure you follow Terrell on Twitter at ReallyRel _, and Ryshell Radio on Twitter for Scott. Thank you guys. Appreciate you calling in, and make sure you
real quick. I know the WNBA gambling podcast is hard hitting journalism. I assume you guys are covering the fact that the Sky ruined the return of Brittany Griner, because ESPN only showed me Brittany Griner highlights in that game.
That was the home return. I gave out the Sparks alternative line for Griner's first game, -5.5, and they won by like 20
Oh,
something.
hell
So,
yeah.
I mean, come on. What more do you need?
It does. I'm a TMZ WNBA fan, Sean. If you didn't know, it does seem like you can, like, the narrative stuff that the NBA has feels like it could translate nicely.
I'll give Griner a bit of props. Though. She
said-
actually has been good the first 2 games. The team's just not very good because they're missing their best player. So
They literally said that we have WNBA finals level production for her first 2 games. I am only kicking myself that I didn't fade them in the second game.
Yeah,
Because WNBA finals level production in game 1 and 2 of a 40-game season is pretty insane.
wow, they play 40 games. That's crazy.
yeah, they added like 5 more games or 4 more.
Oh,
games.
they're ruined, just like they ruined the NBA. We don't
Too
need
many
all
games.
these games.
Less games, more brackets.
More brackets.
All right, make sure you hit that subscribe button, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge, where you can double your bet with no interest. Always appreciate you guys calling in. And
thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
for the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, second the money green, and he is Ryan
Sean, have a great night.
Kramer. Let it ride.